Coming up, some songs were made to push boundaries, stir up scandal, controversy, and uncomfortable conversations. On today's episode, we're featuring songs that did just that in our Volume 4 of Taboo Songs. We're breaking down 6 more that either got themselves banned from radio, blacklisted from MTV, or pulled from live shows. The list of taboo tracks here includes one artist who panicked after recording her biggest hit and begged her manager to kill it. She didn't like that it was risque. It was already racing up the charts and nothing could be done. Another musician released a music video that played out like Phantom of the Opera meets Eyes Wide Shut, so MTV banned it, but it still went top 5 on the US charts. We've also got a rock legend who retired one of his biggest hits to avoid modern-day backlash, an embarrassment for being compared to something he didn't do, and another icon who got so sick of explaining what his song meant, he tried to delete it from his catalog, but his fans wouldn't have it. So what do you think? Did any of these songs go too far? You be the judge coming up on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you remember staying home from school when you were sick and watching The Price is Right, you're going to dig this channel of deep musical nostalgia. Make sure to subscribe below right now and click the bell so you know when our stuff comes out. Also, check out our podcasts on Apple and Spotify and other places. You can click here or down below. We've got some great episodes there. Coming up, it's our latest edition of the Taboo Songs Countdown. These are songs that stirred up controversy, got banned from radio and MTV, or even disowned by the artists themselves, but controversy couldn't stop them. In fact, in many cases, it only fueled their rise, turning them into some of the most unforgettable and talked about hits in music history. So let's dive in. I think you're going to like this version. Coming in at number 6, I've got a Bottle Lightning track from the mid-'80s from the band Boys Don't Cry. It's I Wanna Be a Cowboy.
I wanna be a cowboy.
Now, in 1986, British new wave band Boys Don't Cry unexpectedly found themselves with one of the most unusual hits of the neon decade. Their single, I Wanna Be a Cowboy, was a quirky synth-driven track that combined deadpan humor with a danceable beat. Shot up the Hot 100, eventually reaching number 12. Now, described as a spaghetti western of a song, I Wanna Be a Cowboy became a novelty hit that took on a life of its own, carving out a place in 80s pop culture as one of the strangest and catchiest one-hit wonders of the era.
I've got my boots dusty.
Boys Don't Cry originally came together in 1984 as an in-house studio band, recording mostly in leftover studio time that other people had. Said lead singer Nick Richards, "We recorded in dead time at the studio, which was very rare as it was always so busy. Sundays were the normal days when it was quiet."
I've got my saddle on my horse.
Now, the band's name, often mistakenly linked to The Cure, actually came from the lyric in 10cc's I'm Not in Love. You know, be quiet, big boys don't cry.
Boys don't cry.
Be quiet, big boys don't cry.
Now, the inspiration for I Wanna Be a Cowboy, that came from a Saturday night spent watching Clint Eastwood westerns. And the phrase, I wanna be a cowboy and you can be my cowgirl, that stuck in Nick Richards' head. By the next day, the band was in the studio recording the track. Now, Richards explained, everybody loved it, and we decided to put it to a piece of music that had been written a year earlier. I wrote the new lyrics and recorded it straight away. We mixed it that day in about 3 hours. Now, the song was meant to be a joke, total joke, just to make people laugh, but we also thought it would make a great dance track, and that it did.
Riding on the range, I've got my hat.
But while the song was catchy and offbeat, its road to success was not entirely smooth. Now, thanks to MTV, they actually blacklisted the track, for a reason you won't even believe. The reason why the Music Network banned it was not because it was sexually explicit, overtly violent, or in any way controversial. It's just that they thought it was stupid. They thought it was dumb.
Can you believe that?
Seriously, according to Richards, VJ Martha Quinn told him that MTV hated the video because it wasn't rock and roll. It wasn't cool. It didn't fit their programming mold. And they also just thought it was just dumb. Of course, this wasn't the first time MTV refused to play music videos they deemed off-brand. Famously, they refused to play Michael Jackson's Billie Jean. and a lot of music videos from black artists, including Rick James and Prince. These guys fought against similar bands. In interviews from the 80s, you had MTV executives like Les Garland and Bob Pittman who defended the exclusion of these videos. They claimed they were programming for only a rock audience, but the ban wasn't limited just to black artists. I mean, many videos on the softer side of rock, like Neil Diamond and Barry Manilow and Air Supply, were all rejected as well. And with few exceptions, a lot of country artists were banned, which I guess makes sense. And as best I could tell, this was Boys Don't Cry's Grievous Sin. Although the band clearly wasn't country, I Want to Be a Cowboy delved deep into Western motifs, and that was enough to reject the track. Ultimately, MTV reversed its stance and they started to play I Want to Be a Cowboy, but only after it started making its way up the pop charts. In fact, in just one weekend, the network received over 200,000 requests for the video. That was enough to change their mind.
And you can be my cowgirl.
But adding some rock cred to the music video was Motorhead's Lemmy. That's right. Richards wanted a cowboy villain for the video, and he immediately thought of the leather-clad frontman. At the time, Richards owned GWR Records, which was managing both Boys Don't Cry and Motorhead. So he reached out to Lemmy, who agreed to appear in it, get this, in exchange for a bottle of Smirnoff vodka. Isn't that great? I love Lemmy. Richards said, "We started filming at 6 a.m. on a freezing cold morning in London's Hampstead Heath. He turned up on time, and he was the ultimate pro and gentleman. We had a fab time. I adored him."
Six gun at my side.
While I Want to Be a Cowboy may seem like an odd entry in 80s pop history, it's precisely that uniqueness that's allowed the song to endure. With this blend of humor, its catchy synth hooks, and Lemmy's surprise cameo, the track became an unexpected part of the decade's musical fabric. Decades later, I Want to Be a Cowboy stands as one of the most entertaining, strange, whatever you want to call it, one-hit wonders of the era.
One day, I'll be dead, yo.
Coming in at number 5, I've Got the Police with Don't Stand So Close to Me. And if you're familiar with this song, you can probably figure out why this one might be controversial. I mean, coming into the 80s, the Police had quickly risen to the top of the rock world, fusing new wave reggae and rock into a sound all their own. Fronted by Sting with Andy Summers on guitar and Stuart Copeland on drums, this trio had already delivered hits, Roxanne, Message in a Bottle, and they helped define the late 70s post-punk movement. But it was their third album, Zenyatta Mandata, that was released in October of 1980 that took him worldwide. Man, they became the biggest band in the world. The album would have a couple of hits, the Do 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 Da 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 Da, and of course one of their most talked about and controversial songs in their catalog, Don't Stand So Close to Me. Now, the song was written by Sting, who drew on his own brief experience as a school teacher to shape the narrative. But Don't Stand So Close to Me wasn't autobiographical at all. It's just fiction. The song tells the story of a schoolgirl developing a crush on her teacher, who wrestles with the inappropriate attention. Inside him, there's longing. This girl's an open page. There's longing. This girl's an open page. And of course, as the story unfolds, the lyrics suggest that the teacher-student relationship may have crossed the boundary. What bus stop? She's waiting. His car is warm and dry. And nothing overt, but released as a single in September of 1980, Don't Stand So Close to Me shot to #1 in the UK, becoming the Police's third chart topper there, and the biggest selling British single of 1980. Now here in the States, Don't Stand So Close to Me debuted on the Hot 100 5 months later in February of 81, eventually peaked at number 10 in April, just like the Do 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 Da 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 Da. MTV was still in its infancy, and it needed content, eagerly put the music video into heavy rotation. This video featured Sting in a teacher's gown and his bandmates goofing around behind him. Said Sting about it, "We shot it at a real school. It didn't tell a story. We just clowned around with me wielding a cane." But for some who knew Sting, that he'd once been a teacher, the song seemed to hit just a little too close to home. Rumors circulated that the story was autobiographical. Sting repeatedly pushed back on the narrative, saying, "I was a teacher, but I never had a relationship with any of my pupils. I wouldn't want to. You have to remember, we were blonde bombshells at the time, and most of our fans were young girls, so I started role-playing a bit. Let's exploit that," and it really worked. Now, years after its release, Don't Stand So Close to Me has remained a fan favorite and a staple of the Police's live shows in the early days, but of course it included their massive 2007 to 2008 reunion tour. Don't stand so close to me. Yeah, but as times changed, so did Sting's willingness to perform this song. In fact, in 2023, Sting revealed that he had quietly retired Don't Stand So Close to Me from his live sets, citing growing sensitivities around its subject matter. He said, and I quote, "In the current climate, I don't sing that live. People with a sort of puerile sensibility will say, 'Oh, it's about you.' And of course, it's not, but it's an interesting situation." Now, Sting's decision brings to mind other artists like Pat Benatar, who retired Hit Me With Your Best Shot from her shows back in 2022. She did that because of the lyrics "Fire Away" in the midst of gun violence. While Benatar's deletion of her once signature song is a head-scratcher, at least to me, and let's be honest, nobody in the history of this world thinks that "Fire Away" promotes violence. But with Sting, it's a little different. I mean, it wasn't about wanting to cancel the song per se. It was about protecting himself from modern interpretations gone awry. Reflecting on the song's legacy, he said, "Again, you could interpret it in many, many different ways, but I still think it's an interesting subject for a song and a sophisticated take on it." Here's what Stuart Copeland said about the song. Sting was always self-deprecating about the Nabokov lyric. It gets a lot of crap.
Well, he has one of the best rhymes in rock and roll.
I agree.
Shake and cough, rhyming with Nabokov.
I know. Well, and it's actually the reason a lot of people picked up Lolita and read it. It's the reason I did. I had no idea what it was until I heard
it. That's exactly why he wrote those songs, based on dense literature. But yes, he doesn't sing the song anymore. I do, with my orchestra arrangements. Because I'm one step removed from it. He was a teacher, and he wrote that song, and one might wonder if any of that was going on in his mind when he was a teacher. Okay, he's perfectly free to not play one of his best songs that he ever wrote, but it doesn't stop me playing it. And I don't think it endorses any of the evil that it describes in any way.
No.
It's a human song about humanity from both sides of it, and it doesn't endorse any of the behavior.
Now, coming in at number 4, I'm going with Laura Branigan and the song "Self-Control," one of my favorites. So coming into 84, Laura Branigan had already carved out a place in the pop landscape with some serious powerhouse vocals and some emotionally charged performances. After breaking through in 1982 with Gloria, Branigan followed up with a string of hits like Solitaire and How Am I Supposed to Live Without You, much better than Bolton's version. Her distinct blend of American pop and European disco influences made her stand out in the early MTV era. And as the 80s progressed, Laura Branigan was ready for the next evolution in her sound, one that would bring both major success and a bit of controversy. That next chapter came with her third studio album, "SelfControl," released on April 1st of 84. Once again, turning to the European scene for inspiration, Branigan recorded a cover of the Italian song "Self-Control" that was originally written and performed by Raph in 83. The original version was a moody synth-infused piece that already hinted at the kind of dark, seductive energy that Branigan would channel in her own version. Love her version. But Laura Branigan's take on the song, that struck a chord worldwide. It went to number 4 here on the Hot 100 in America, and it topped charts across Europe. And then the SelfControl album itself reached number 23 on the Billboard 200 on its way to achieving platinum status. And there's no doubt that Branigan's haunting vocal delivery made SelfControl one of her defining tracks of her career. But while fans embraced the track, the song's music video put MTV on edge. Filmed in New Jersey and New York City, the SelfControl video was helmed by William Friedkin, the acclaimed director behind The Exorcist.
It is he who commands you. The power of Christ compels you.
Branigan was one of the first artists of the MTV era to work with an Oscar-winning filmmaker. Said Laura, and I quote, "It was a real experience. He's a great film director. We worked very hard on this thing." The video leaned heavily into the song's theme of surrendering to temptation, with Branigan being pursued by a mysterious Phantom of the Opera-like masked figure, the embodiment of the night itself. And of course, that wouldn't have been much of an issue, except that Phantom of the Opera soon started boasting shades of Eyes Wide Shut. 15 years early. Of course, Stanley Kubrick's erotic thriller came out in '99, so either Laura Branigan and William Friedkin are time travelers, or Kubrick ripped off Branigan.
One or two things in my life, but never anything like this.
But this is where MTV took issue. Several scenes in the video depicted Branigan being seduced by shadowy figures and sequences that implied a sexual free-for-all. I can't say the real thing here on YouTube or I'll get banned. The imagery of semi-nude dancers, intimate physical contact, and a masked man entering, seducing Branigan in her bedroom that pushed early 80s broadcast standards. Concerned that the video was too provocative, MTV refused to air the full version. Actually demanded edits be made to tone down the more controversial scenes. Laura defended the creative choices behind the video, calling it a metaphor for inner conflict rather than an outright naughty romp. Ted Branigan about it, "The song was about losing your self-control to the night or to someone. We had a man representing the night, and he was wearing a mask. There were all these great dancers wearing masks. There's a shot where the man comes into my bedroom, taking me into the night. He appears and disappears. MTV didn't play it. They said it was risque. It was played in Europe, and of course everywhere else. I don't think it was bad at all." It certainly hasn't hurt the song. On YouTube, several different versions of SelfControl added together are over 700 million views, which makes me happy. I love the song. Coming up next on our countdown of the top risque songs, it's a song that's so controversial, we can't really talk about it on this platform. Now, I covered this about a year and a half ago, and it was taken down. I had to censor it. I got it back up. Then it got taken down again. I think in the early 90s, it was all over radio and MTV. So I'm taking a big risk here, so I'll have to kind of float around how I talk about it. Number 3, I've got the ultimate female self-love song, written by a guy. I Touch Myself by the Divinals. The Hall of Fame songwriters Billy Steinberg and his songwriting partner Tom Kelly had already written multiple #1 hits for female artists, like A Virgin for Madonna, Eternal Flame for the Bangles, True Colors for Cyndi Lauper. And toward the end of the 80s, Steinberg met with Australian rockers The Divinals. So Billy handed over his notebook of lyrics to see if something might spark for them. Frontwoman Chrissy Amphlett, the late Chrissy Amphlett, she zeroed in on one particular idea. It's a song about self-love, and together they finished what would become I Touch Myself. Divinals, led by Amphlett and guitarist Mark McEntee, they were already stars back home in Australia. Now teamed up with Kelly and Steinberg, they crafted what would become their biggest and most controversial song, one of the most controversial of all time. When I Touch Myself dropped in 1990, it exploded. The song hit #1 in Australia and climbed to #4 in the Hot 100. It became Divinals' only major U.S. hit, and the subject matter definitely made waves.
I wanna think about you. I touch myself. Oh.
Not surprisingly, some radio stations deemed it too naughty and they pulled the song from regular airplay, featuring backlash from more family-oriented listeners. Then the provocative music video, that took things even further. Amphlett appears in lingerie, lies on satin sheets, and yes, touches herself throughout, adding to the intensity. She stares straight into the camera as she sings in a way that broke through the fourth wall and made some viewers feel like voyeurs. Now, the video wasn't just suggestive. It was a personal invitation to watch Chrissy kind of getting in the mood, you know? Here's what songwriter Billy Steinberg told me about it.
We got together to actually structure the song. It was confusing. What was the chorus and what was the verse? Because the verse is so... Tom wrote the melody to that verse, and it's such a great melody.
Oh, yeah.
When people sing that song to me, they always go, I touch myself. But the song never says that. They're singing the title, but to the verse melody. I don't want to get too much into song structure, but you're interested. Usually you put a bridge. You go a verse, chorus, bridge. But with that song, we have the verse and then the chorus, and then we go right into the bridge. It has an odd structure if you listen to it, but it really works. You know, I remember when we wrote it, I felt like it kind of had a little bit of a Rolling Stones vibe to it, I thought.
Oh yeah.
Like poppy,
Totally.
Like Let's Spend the Night Together,
Yeah.
but also rock. So I thought, wow, we nailed it with that song.
That's a song that will be in my head for the next week for sure. Coming in at number 2, the bridesmaid position, I have a song. This controversy will kind of make you laugh, snicker. So by 1981, Olivia Newton-John had already conquered nearly every corner of the music world and entertainment world. She broke out in the early 70s with a unique blend of soft country and pop, scoring hits like Let Me Be There, If You Love Me, Let Me Know, and her first U.S. number 1, I Honestly Love You. I mean, her wholesome image made her a radio favorite and a Grammy winner, but her career hit a whole new level in 1978 when she starred opposite John Travolta in Grease. The film and this massive soundtrack turned Olivia into a global superstar while allowing her to shed a bit of that, girl next door label. Her 11th studio album, Physical, that hit the shelves in October of '81, and it marked a major transformation for the singer. The title track became Olivia's biggest hit and one of the most talked about songs of the decade. Written by Steve Kipner and Terry Shattuck, Physical was originally intended for Rod Stewart. A lot of people don't know that. It was turned down by Tina Turner as well. Then it landed in Olivia Newton-John's hands. However, after recording and releasing Physical, Olivia immediately had second thoughts. Here's what she said. She said, after it was finished, that's when I freaked out. I never even thought about the double entendre here. I called my manager and said, we have to kill it. Let's stop it because I've gone too far. And he said, it's already on the charts, doll. It's doing really well, and we're not going to be able to stop it. Once the song hit the airwaves, it exploded. I mean, Physical climbed to number 1 on the Hot 100 and stayed there for 10 consecutive weeks, the longest chart reign of any song that year, or the 80s for that matter. The track also became a smash internationally, but Olivia Newton-John wasn't the only one with reservations about the track. The song's sexual lyrics left little to the imagination, and a lot of people don't realize this, but if you really listen, I mean, you think about it. I took you to an intimate restaurant, then to a suggestive movie. There's nothing left to talk about unless it's horizontally. Radio stations in some of the more conservative areas of the U.S. pulled the song from their playlists and banned it from their airwaves. Sweet Goody Two Shoes Olivia was able to diffuse it a bit. To help soften the song's overtly sexual tone, the music video featured Olivia in a gym setting, Here she leads a group of out-of-shape men through a series of workouts, and by the end of the video, they transform into muscle-bound models. Only by this point, they're more interested in each other than Olivia. Said Newton-John, the premise of the physical video was to distract from the fact that the song was so sexual. But even with the controversy surrounding the song, there was nothing that could slow its popularity. And now, decades later, Physical remains one of late Olivia Newton-John's signature hits, one of the defining songs of the 80s for sure. And hey, Steve Lukather played guitar on it. Said Olivia, looking back, now I go, that was great. I got attention, and also compared to what I'm listening to on the radio now, it's more like a lullaby. She's right about that. In 2021, to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the song, Olivia released a deluxe edition of Physical, partnered with Crunch Fitness for a TikTok physical challenge. The idea was to raise money for cancer research, and this was through the Olivia Newton-John Foundation Fund. Sadly, Olivia Newton-John passed away on August 8, 2022 after a 30-year battle with breast cancer. But Physical stands as one of the most memorable chapters in her career. Love Olivia Newton-John. Coming in at number 1, I've got a song that many call one of the worst songs of all time by an artist I really like. We'll see what you think. At number 1, I got Meat Loaf with I Do Anything for Love, but I won't do that.
But I won't do that.
And by the early 90s, Meat Loaf's career was in serious need of a revival. His 1977 album, Bat Out of Hell, had made him a global star with epic hits like 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad, Paradise by the Dashboard Light. You took the words right out of my mouth. So many classics. But after a falling out with songwriter Jim Steinman and a string of personal and professional struggles, Meat Loaf's career stalled big time. Finally, in 1993, he reunited with Steinman to create Bat Out of Hell 2, Back into Hell, a long-awaited sequel to the original masterpiece. Now, the album's lead single, I Do Anything for Love, But I Won't Do That, brought him roaring back to the top of the charts. It also introduces over-the-top rock opera style to a whole new generation. The song, with its bombastic piano-driven arrangement and theatrical delivery, was a return to classic Meat Loaf, and it worked big time. I Do Anything for Love hit number 1 in 28 countries, including the US, where it topped the US Hot 100 for 5 weeks starting in November of 93. In the UK, it was the biggest selling single of the year, spending 7 weeks at number 1 and selling over 750,000 copies right off the bat. The album version ran an epic 12 minutes, while the radio edit trimmed it down to just over 5. It was easily the biggest hit of Meat Loaf's career. But despite its massive success, the song quickly became infamous for one reason. Nobody could figure out what that was.
No, I won't do that. I won't do anything.
Fans, critics, and even comedies like Wayne's World poked fun at the ambiguity. And Meat Loaf found himself explaining it over and over and over again.
What's that one thing? He won't wear a dog collar and get ridden like a little wet pony?
As he demonstrated during his VH1 Storyteller's appearance, he said, I get this question all the time. I bet if I said, do you have a question, people would raise their hand and they'll ask me, what is that?
Every night of my life, I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that.
He literally willed out a blackboard and diagrammed the song's structure in every verse that refers to whatever he just sang before. Like, I'll never forget the way you feel right now, but I won't do that.
Oh, man. So it's the line before every chorus.
Steinman, who wrote the song, actually predicted fans would be confused, but Meat Loaf didn't believe him until the endless questions proved otherwise. Jim Steinman described the song as a Beauty and the Beast kind of story and defended the lyrical puzzle, saying, what he won't do is said about 6 times in the song very specifically. Sort of a little puzzle, but they're all great things. I won't stop doing beautiful things, and I won't do bad things. It's very noble. I'm very proud of that song because it's very much like out of the world of Excalibur. You know, to me, it's like Sir Lancelot. It's very noble and chivalrous. You know, even with the meaning clarified, Meat Loaf's relationship with the song grew complicated over time. He later admitted in interviews it was probably the song he hated to sing the most, not because of its lyrical confusion, mind you. I mean, sure, that was annoying, but also because of the toll it took on him physically. The full-length version featured massive vocal demands, duets, and huge crescendos that were exhausting to perform night after night. Eventually, Meat Loaf confessed that he would have gladly retired it from his set list, and he tried to. But fans had ongoing demand to hear it live. And of course, it was #1 hit, his biggest hit. In fact, I was supposed to do a Professor of Rock Live with Meat Loaf, and he passed away before we could finalize it. But I was told, as I sent the songs that I wanted to talk about, I was told that I'd do anything for love, but I won't do that, was one that he was not going to perform. Anyway, maybe he would have changed his mind. So despite his desire to cancel it, Meat Loaf had to perform I'd Do Anything for Love, but I Won't Do That throughout his career, hating every second of it, but fully aware of how much his audience loved it. It may be the most overdramatic song of its time, but hey, at least it wasn't banned over the artist's name. Actually, the year after I'd Do Anything for Love, but I Won't Do That, a band named Dead-Eye Dick, do you remember them? They had a throwback Cars-like 80s hit in the 90s called New Age Girl. It's catchier than the flu, but it was banned by several radio stations because of the band's name. DJs were embarrassed to repeat it on air, apparently.
New age girl, tell us what she's like. Environmentalist girl.
You can't even find New Age Girl on Spotify or Apple Music. There's like a re-recorded version, but it's not very good. You can find it on YouTube. And you know, we covered Hooked on a Feeling the other day, and it was going to be part of this countdown, but I already covered it on our top 10 songs countdown. And it actually got canceled. Radio stations stopped playing it because of cultural, it was offending, cultural inappropriation or cultural appropriation because of the Ooga Chaka Ooga chant. And it was deemed culturally insensitive by radio stations and deleted. And I put a little bit of that in there, and for some reason, I had to cut it out because I got a claim for the song, and so that's where that went. I apologize. Some people were saying, I think part of it got left in, but anyway. Leave us a comment about these songs, about these banned songs. What do you think? What are your memories of these songs? Should they have been banned? What are some other songs we should cover? What else would you like to see on the channel? If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe below. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.